Hakadosh Boker or Masechet Ketubot Daf Yud 112a1. We're just going to start on Kuf Yud Amud Bet towards the bottom. Okay, so we're starting on Kuf Yud Amud Bet 111b towards the bottom. Amar Rabbi Yaakov ben Dostai, says Rabbi Yaakov ben Dostai, Milod leOno, from Lod to Ono there's Shlosha milim, there are 3 milim. Pam achat kidamti b'neshef. Once I went even before Lod Shachar, v'alachti ad karsulai b'dvash shel te'anim. And I was able to go until my heels with the dvash of te'anim. Here we're talking about all the eretz zavat chalav udvash of Eretz Israel. So basically we're talking about the flowing, right, of milk and honey. So this is where I went. So Amar Shaki says, I saw zavat chalav udvash shel tzipori. It was 16 mil by 16 mil. Remember that a mil is right under a kilometer, right, or over a kilometer. According to the Grachnai, I think it's 930 meters, and according to the Chazon Ish, it's just like over a kilometer. So it's not really a mile. It's not mil is not a mile, but it's like a kilometer, something around the kilometer. So he said it was 16 by 16, just to understand in kilometers. Okay. So Amar Chana says, I saw the Eretz Zavat Chalav of all of Eretz Israel, towards the top. Yeah, first line. And it was the same span of area from Bek Michse until Na'avar Nar of Tulbanki. Esrim vetartim parse ulka uputia shita parse. It was 22 parsaot length and 6 parsaot width. Now remember that every parsa is 4 mil. So if you have 22 parsaot, you're doing 22 times 4. So that's 88 kilometers length by 6 times 4, which is 24 kilometers width. So that's a long, that's a lot of that's all of the milk and honey. Rabbi Chelbo, Rabbi Avira, Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina iklau lahu atra. So do you know that Rabbi Chelbo, Rabbi Avira, and Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, they once went to a certain place in Israel. Aitu kamayu afrasek adaveka ilpas kfarhino. So they went and they brought in front of them an afrasek, right, a peach, yeah. Shegodlo, the size was like a seed, right? It was like a pot. Yeah, mamash, it was like a huge thing. So 1 second, it was a pot of this kfarhino. So what is a pot of kfarhino? Maybe you're going to tell me, listen, it was a place where the pots were very, very small. In a sense, it makes sense. So he says it was chamesh se'im. You used to be able to put in 5 se'im. That's basically between 42 to 85 liters. That was the pot of this place. Just understand how big it was. Achlu shlish, they ate a third of the afarsek. And now we're not talking about one person ate a third. These 3, they ate a third of it. Vifkiru shlish, they went and they gave a third to whoever wanted. And they gave the last third in front of the animals. Okay? So it's like mamash, just think about that. Meaning a third to the animals to eat, a third they ate, and then a third they gave to, that was all one fruit, one peach. That's what it was. Lishana ikla Rabbi Lazar lahatam v'aytu lekameh nak to be a day. So the end, after a year, right? Rabbi Lazar went there. They brought him an afrasek, and what happened was it was so small he was able to take it in one hand. Ve'amar, and he said, "Eretz perilim lecha merat yosheva," which means that the perot became smaller because of the onish, because of a punishment of the people that are living there. Meaning the year before, mamash, it was 1 year before, the fruit was big as like a pot. 1 year later, and all of a sudden the fruit was able to take it in one hand. And he said it was because they sinned. So because of that, the fruits became smaller. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi ikla legavla. So Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, he went, he visited Gavla. So he saw eshkolot, clusters of grapes, of geffen, which were big, that they looked like an egel. Mamash, it was huge. Amar agalim ben agifanim. He says, I don't understand. There's an egel between the grapes. Like, what's going on here? Amrule, they said, he said, no, those are clusters of grapes. Meaning he thought that it was like, it was clusters of grapes. Look how big they were. Amar eretz achnisi perotaich. Said, land, bring in your fruits. Lemiat motzia perotaich. Who are you bringing in your fruits to? Aravim alalu shamdu alenu bechatotenu. What, to these Aravim that they're coming and they're standing on us because of our sins? Leshana ikla Rabbi Chia latam. So the next year Rabbi Chia got there. Chazanu davukai mekize. He saw that they were like izim. Amar izim ben agifanim lo zil la tavid lan kichavach. So basically, they went from an Egel, they became to an Ez, and now he said, what? There's Zizim? When he said, get out of here. We don't need you to do what your friend did to us. Meaning that your friend came and he cursed the fruits. No. Go out. You know, like they didn't want to. What?
Who are they? The Arabim?
We learned in the Braita. To do with the beracha of Eretz Yisrael, a bet seah oseh chameshet ribo kurim. One bet seah is able to produce, which is basically 2,500 amot square, right? So here it says it's between 576 and 841. 841. How do you call it? Like meters square. So he comes and he says, with the berachot of Eretz Yisrael, you have a bet seah can make 5,000 ribo kurim. B'yeshivata shel Tzoan, in the yeshiva of Tzoan, bet seah osa 70 kurim. The bet seah can make 70, right, kurs. The Tanya was learned in Braita Amar Bimin. Ani raiti bika bet she'an. I saw bika bet she'an bet seah osa 70 kurim. They did 70, which means basically we're talking about how a certain amount of property was able to produce enormous amounts. Right, that's what we're talking about here. Do you know that the best land, fertile land, is in Mitzrayim? Now, what is the best of Mitzrayim? Tzoan. There's a lot of malachim that came from Tzoan. There is no stonier city more than Hebron. Hebron is full of stones. Right? That's what Trashim are, the Matzlaim. Because that's where they used to come and they used to bury people because it wasn't fit for fruits. Meaning, why was Ma'arat HaMechpelah, you know? They used to bury people there because if you can't plant there, you might as well use it as burial plot. Hebron comes and it makes fruits alachat mishiva 7 times of tzoan. That means, look at that. Mitzrayim is the best of the fertile land. Tzoan is the best of Mitzrayim. Okay? And you have Hebron is the worst of Eretz Yisrael because it's stony. And still Hebron does 7 times the fruits of Tzoan. So imagine just if Tzoan Mitzrayim. What does it mean Nivneta? Elim, if you're going to tell me now Nivneta Mamash, that it was actually built Mamash. This is last week's parasha. We just learned it. Right? Nivneta. So he says, if Shasha Adam Bone Bait Limno Katan, he says what? A person's going to make a house for his younger child, for his older child. How could it be? Yeah? That he built it for Hebron before Tzoan. So he's not going to build it, right, for what's going on. Ella it's 7 times Tzoan. But that's only talking about the Trashim. But if it's not Trashim, 500 kur. Right? That means basically if there's no stones, the land of Eretz Yisrael could produce enormous amounts. And you see it. You go into Israel, it's the only country that it's the smallest country. Right? You could be driving, 10 minutes you're driving, it's in like a desert. Another 10 minutes you're driving and it's like full of fields. Another 10 minutes, crazy, the difference of the terrains, right? In such a small space. But that's without the berachot. But if it has beracha, and it says it was 100 times, which means 100 of a regular year. So imagine what he says. So he says it could be, right, 500 kur. His Pimea which is going to be 50,000 kurs. So imagine how much beracha there is, if we have beracha in the land of Eretz Yisrael. Tanya, we learned in the Braita. Amar Rabbi Yosef says of Yosef, Seah b'Yehuda hayta osa 5 seim. A seah in Yehuda will be making 5 seim. Seah kemach, seah solet, seah subin, seah musin, seah kiburaya. So it says here it was doing 5 seim. One of kemach, one of solet, one of subin, one of musin, one of kiburaya. So Elmaleh, how tzedoki, Rabbi Chanina says there was a tzedoki that said to Rabbi Chanina, Ya'eh mashbechi tuba be'arachon. It's good that they come and they're going to be mishabeach the land to make it fertile. Betzah achat iniach le'yov. My father left me 1 betzah in Eretz Yisrael. Mimena meshach, mimena chamar, mimena mibur, mimena kitniot, mimena. And from that, just betzah, I was able to take out oil, or wine. I was able to take out grain, kitniot. Mamash, my cattle were feeding off there, meaning they were shepherds. They took their animals there to graze. All that from the same betzah. He left me 1 betzah, and there I had everything. I didn't need anything else. That's all I needed. So Elmaleh bar amorah lebar arad Yisrael. There was one of the moraim that he went and he told one of the people from Eretz Yisrael. Hai talta de kaime aguda diardena. This dekel, which is on Sfata Yarden, on the edge of the Jordan River, kama gadritu mine. How many tmarim can you take from it? Amarle, he told him, shitin kur is 60 kurs. Amarle, he says, akati lo ayilite bi acharivta. You still didn't actually come and live in Eretz Yisrael, and you already went and pagamtem ota. Why? Anan me'ave 20 kur yava gazrim mina. I used to take 120 from it. So Amarle, so he went and he told him, Ananami michagisa lecha. I also was telling you only one side. I didn't tell you the other side. Meaning he went and he told him, how much are you able to take it? So he went and he said 60 kur. He says, well, what's going on with you? I was able to do 120 kur. He says, yeah, I was only talking about half the tree. I was only talking about one part of the tree. So Amar Rav Chasta says, Rav Chasta, what does it mean in the pasuk? That I'm going to give you an eretz chemda, a land which you're going to desire, which is nachlat tzvi. What does that mean? Lama eretz Yisrael mishela tzvi. Why is Eretz Yisrael compared to a deer? Just like the deer, if you're going to skin a deer and try to put the skin back on, you can't. It doesn't go back on. It doesn't fit. So to Eretz Yisrael does not machzik perotea. What does that mean? That means basically what's happening is that when the skin of the deer is on it, it's on it. But when you skin it, it's much smaller. You're saying it's not the same animal. So yeah, but I just skinned it in front of your face. No. Why? It does not fit. There's like a miracle that happens that it extends, it stretches until you're able to do everything. So too, he says the same thing with Eretz Yisrael. Another explanation. The tzvi is a very, very fast, very quick animal. So too, Eretz Yisrael is very quick to ripen its fruit. Right? Another explanation. Also, the tzvi is very light and it doesn't have a lot of fat. So to Eretz Yisrael, it ripens its fruit and the fruits are not very fatty. It's actually more fatty. That means I would have thought to say, listen, it doesn't have a lot of fat. So it's like very dry. No, it's got a lot of fat. Why? It's even more shemen than chalav. It's more fatty than milk, and it's more matok than dvash. It's even more sweet than honey. Rabbi Lazar, when Rabbi Lazar used to go to Eretz Yisrael, he used to say, Palti li mechada. I was saying from one of the klalot, ki samhu, when they gave him semicha. Yeah, semichat. Yeah, semicha, but real semicha, not semichat chaver, right? We're talking about semicha. Yeah, real semicha. Yeah. So he comes and he says, right, ki samchu amar, halti li mitarte. I will say from two of them. Ki otvu besoda ibur, when they taught him soda ibur, amar, I say from three of them. What does that mean exactly? What were the three klalot that Rabbi Lazar was talking about? It was one of the three klalot in Yechaskel. שנאמר בזה זה בפסוק, והייתה ידי אל הנביאים החוזים שב, חוזים כסר, בסוד עמי לא יהיו, ובכתב בית ישראל כתבו, ולמד ישראל לא יבואו, בסוד עמי לא יהיו, איזה סוד העיבוד, בכתב בית ישראל לא יכתבו, זה סמיכה, ולמד ישראל לא יבואו, כמשמעות, that you're not going to go to Eretz Yisrael. So the fact that he was able to go up to Eretz Yisrael, he got smicha, and then he was able to do sod ha'ibud, he was saved from these three different curses. Okay, the Bizera, when Rabbi Zera went up to Eretz Yisrael, he didn't find a boat to pass the river. So he was grabbing on a boat and he was trying to go over the river. Right now, he was going on a very thin piece of wood. Right? Tzeduki comes and he tells him, you're such an ampaziz, you're such a quick nation that you went and you put your mouth before your ears. Why? You guys said Naaseh v'nishma. Naaseh, we're going to do, so you put your mouth before your ears. First, put your ears. Akati, you guys are still the same thing. Akati v'sudah v'kmaithu. Amarle, he says, Amarle, he told him, Duchta de Moshe ve'Aaron l'zachula, ana mi'ema de zachinala. He says, a place, Duchta is a place, right? That Moshe and Aaron were not zochet to go into that place, which is Eretz Yisrael, right? Who's going to say that I'm going to have the zechut if I'm not going to come and I'm going to? That means basically he had the opportunity to go, even if he had to go over a river on a piece of wood or whatever, he was going to do it. Now the goy is looking and saying, I don't understand you Jews. Like, what are you guys doing? Right? But he said, I don't understand you. He says, if Moshe and Aaron didn't have the merit to go in, whoever says I'm gonna do everything to go in. Understand? So it doesn't matter what it is, I'm gonna have to go in. Okay? So Rabbi Abba Menashe Kife de Akko. Do you know Rabbi Abba, when he got to Eretz Yisrael, he was kissing the rocks of Akko. Rabbi Chanina Metaken Matkele. Do you know that in the olden days when you used to go to Israel, I was Zoche only, I think it was the first time that I went to Israel that I did that. When you got off the plane, right? They didn't have the new airport. So you used to get down, you used to go down on the ground, and then you had to walk to the airport. right? We used to go to the bus, right? Exactly. Now you don't have that anymore. But once upon a time, you have that. Sometimes. You menashek it alama. You come, you kiss the ground.
גם אני אזיד את זה.
100%. Okay, fine. So he says, but no, but even the keeper is the slain, even the stones. So therefore you're kissing the stones.
שהיו עליות ממרוקו, מזה,
Exactly.
עם האוניות.
Yeah, exactly. דאקו, רבי חנינא מתקן מתקלה, so he was מתקן משולי הדרך וארץ צל, רבי ימי ורבי יאסי, right, ק"ב עמוד 112b, קיימא משמשה לטולה, used to get up from between the shemesh and the tzel, right, in order that they should be able, mitula l'shimshan, from the tzel to the shemesh. That means basically during the winter time, they used to get up and they used to go in the summer, like in the sun, in order to warm themselves up, right? And that's what they used to do in order not to come and to complain about it. Meaning that in the winter time, they would sit in the sun. In the summertime, they would sit in the shade in order that they would never say, it's too hot in Israel or it's too cold in Israel. They would always do it purposely, so they would never complain. Right? Right? They used to come and used to be mitgalgel in the afar of Eretz Yisrael. That your servants, they wanted the stones and they wanted their afar. Do you know during the generation that Ben David is going to come? Categoria betamidei chachamim. There's going to be a very big categoria, right, against the tamidei chachamim. So here he says it's because of the midata kina, right? That means basically people are jealous of tamidei chachamim, so there are people that are always going to be against tamidei chachamim. That's what's going to happen. So okay, when they went in front of the shvuah, they said, "Amad tziruf achar tziruf." It's going to be gezerot after gezerot, right? Which means it's going to be mamash, one gezer after another gezer after another gezerah. And a lot of them, you're going to see that a lot of Jews are going to be losing out. Wow. This is a Gemara telling us this. Think about how many thousands of years ago, and this is already telling us this. Siruf achar tziruf. It's like mamash, like when you purify metal, right? And you're getting out of the bad. Right? So siruf achar shenemad. Also, sholim achar sholim, which means they're going to come and they're going to grab our money one at a time after another time after another time, and that's what they're going to be doing. And Bezrat Hashem, we're going to Bezrat Hashem to finish off for this Masechet. Have a wonderful day.